everyone, and welcome to the podcast. We're talking about another great Cardfight Vanguard set that is coming out October 2nd, and that set happens to be Butterfly to Moonlight. Butterfly to Moonlight comes out with cards for the clans Pale Moon, Grand Blue, Murakumo, and Dark Irregulars. Got some really good cards, a lot of which I'm really looking forward to. So let's talk about a couple. Let's get started with Pale Moon. Starting with the VR for Pale Moon, Masked Magician Hari, or Harry, however you pronounce his name. He has the skill, Auto on Vanguard. When placed, choose one of your additional rearguard circles, and it becomes the stage until the end of that fight. Until the end of this fight, the stage becomes your only additional rearguard circle, and move all axle markers to the stage. And act on Vanguard once per turn, cost, counterblast 1 and discard a card. Call up to 2 cards with Magia Doll in their different card names from your soul to rearguard circles, and they get plus 5k power until the end of the turn. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, you may call up to 4 cards instead of 2. So, first we have to talk about the stage. The stage is something that's exclusive to Hari, and is something that we've never really seen before. So, to kind of explain it in layman's terms, for lack of a better term, the stage is the only axle circle that you can have. You put all axle circles onto this one stage, and those effects do stack. So depending upon whether you do axle 1 or 2, then whatever unit is on that stage gains all of the benefits from all of the power from all of those axle circles. So it's an interesting mechanic. It limits how many units you can have on axle circles. However, it does allow whatever unit is on the axle circle to really reap the benefits of all of that power. So it's an interesting dichotomy. Not as many units, but one very strong unit. So depending upon how you play it, that can be really good. As for his other skill, that's standard Pale Moon, really. We're pulling a bunch of Magia Dolls, which we will see a lot of in this set, from the soul onto different rearguard circles. So this can be really good for filling a board, especially if the opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, and they all get an additional 5k, which isn't too much, but could hit for some really offensive numbers. I'm trying to think of the right term here, but push it just enough to where it can be that awkward number that the opponent will probably have to do 2 or 3 cards for a shield instead of just 1 normally. Obviously, depending upon which Magia Doll it is, what you have, etc., etc. So, Hari is really good for the new Magia Doll deck, which is exclusive to Butterfly to Moonlight. And we'll talk about more of the Magia Dolls and their strengths here in a second. But first we have to talk about the other VR Pale Moon has, Silver Thorn Dragon Empress Venus Lucier. She has the skills Continuous on V. During your turn, if all of your front row circles have units, all of your front row units get plus 5k power. And act on Vanguard once per turn, cost, counterblast 1 and discard a card, and call any number of cards with Silverthorn in their card names from your soul to the front row rearguard circles. At the end of that turn, cost, if you have 4 or more rearguards, put all of your rearguards into your soul, and you get an imaginary gift axle. More Silverthorn shenanigans. So again, we're seeing just the basis of Pale Moon, superior calling anything from soul, but with Silverthorn, more specifically, everything has to have Silverthorn in its card name. Now, if you have a full front row, and that does include axle circles, so keep this in mind, If you have a full front row, all of them get 5k power, which again can hit those awkward offensive numbers, depending upon what you have. And you get another free axle after that turn when everything is sucked back into Soul. Venus Lucier is really good for the Silver Thorn style, and I mean really the older style of Pale Moon, different from Hari and the Magia dolls. Next, we have a grade 4, which is Starry Pop Dragon. Starry Pop Dragon may have 0 power, but has the skills Continuous on Rear. This unit gets plus 5k power for each of your rear guards with Magia doll in their different card names. Auto on Rear, when placed on the stage, you get an Imaginary Gift Axle, and Auto on Rear, when it attacks, if this unit's power is 40k or greater, until the end of that battle, this unit gets crit +1, and your opponent cannot call Sentinels from their hand. At the end of that battle, retire this unit. So with Starry Pop Dragon, we definitely see more of that stage come into play. Not just because he specifically specifies Magia Doll cards, so you really want to play this guy with the Magia Doll style of deck and with Hari, but also benefits from the stage, especially getting another Axle Circle. So again, we see adding the benefits and reaping the benefits of all of that additive power, especially once he hits 40k or greater. A 2 crit 40k or greater attacker is very threatening, especially with the skill that the opponent is unable to call any Sentinels from hand. So this can be very threatening if used correctly. Now it is definitely going to be more late game until you hit that 40k, considering all of the Axle markers on the stage and also all of the Magia dolls on the field. But if you hit that number, then that can be a very aggressive, very threatening circle. So you can definitely use this very wisely. Then to start off the grade 2s, we have Lore Pigeon Pop. Auto on Rear, when placed, put up to 1 card with Magia Doll in its card name from your drop zone into your soul. And Auto on Rear, at the end of the battle it attacked, if this unit is on the stage, cost Counterblast 1 and return this unit to your hand. Search your deck, soul, or drop zone for up to 1 Starry Pop Dragon. Call it to the stage, and if you search your deck, shuffle your deck. So Lore Pigeon recycles the Magia dolls from drop zone into soul, which with Hari, him, we definitely want to see those Magia dolls in soul. That's the whole purpose of Hari. You get the Magia dolls into soul so you can superior call them from soul and reap those benefits. So that free recycling is definitely, I mean, without a doubt, is really good. Then we see on the second skill the way to get Starry Pop Dragon. You have to have this on the stage, so it may not be the best first attacker to have on the stage, but then getting out Starry Pop immediately onto that stage from anywhere is really good. Being able to immediately pull out that great powerhouse that can really be, as I said before, very threatening, very aggressive, then this is going to be really good. Next, we start off with the Magia dolls. The first one we see is Magia Doll Prana. With the effects Auto, when retired from the guard circle, you may put this card into your soul. And Auto on Rear, when placed by your unit's ability with Hari in its card name, this unit and one of your Vanguards gets plus 10k power until the end of the turn. So with all of the Magia dolls, we see that first skill. When retired from the guard circle, put this card into your soul. This is a quick and free and easy way to get the Magia dolls into soul for Hari. So all of the Magia dolls are going to have this skill, and I think it's self-explanatory why this is great. Immediately getting into soul so you have the tools needed to superior call with Hari's skill I mean, it's self-explanatory, it's pretty good. And then the second skill is also really good. So obviously it specifies when it's placed by Hari's ability, which, again, that's one of the main ways that you're going to get out the Magia dolls. This unit and the Vanguard, which more than likely is going to be Hari, get just a free 10k power. So some additive power and some recycling on the first skill. Next Magia doll we have is Lunatic Dragon. Again, we see the skill auto when retired from the guard circle. You may put this card into your soul, and auto on rear when placed by your unit's ability with Hari in its card name. Choose up to one of your opponent's rear guards, and your opponent puts that unit into their soul. So again, that free and easy Magia doll into soul with the retired from guard. Then we have another one that is placed by Hari's ability. This time it's essentially a retire, but you put that unit into the soul. So with that skill, it depends upon what the opponent is playing as far as whether this is going to be detrimental or not. Some decks, another card in soul, that's definitely going to lose a rear guard. It's going to be kind of bad. Now keep in mind, if you do play this against a deck that has a very high Soul Blast cost for a lot of their effects, or if you're playing something like a Mirror Match Pale Moon, or against Dark Irregulars, getting something into Soul, that's kind of the name of the game, right? So it can definitely help you, but you could also end up helping your opponent depending on how you use it. So keep that in mind and use it wisely. Next we have Card Dealer Jacqueline. With the effect auto on V and R, when placed, cost Counterblast 1. Look at 7 cards from the top of your deck. Reveal up to a total of 2 Lore Pigeon Pop or cards with Magia Doll in their card names from among them and put them into your hand, and shuffle your deck. If you reveal 2 cards, put a card from your hand into your soul. I think this is decently self-explanatory. Look at top 7, get all your pieces that you need, and put them where you need them. I mean, this is going to be a really good card. I think it speaks for itself. Next, we have Silverthorn Diva, Selvia. With the skill Auto on V and R, when placed, cost Counterblast 1, choose up to 2 cards with Silverthorn in their card names, not named Silverthorn Diva, Selvia, from your soul and call them to rear. So as Selvia, you can kind of get around what Venus Luquier can't do. So if you look back at Venus Luquier specifically calls to the front row. But if you get Selvia, then you can get them regardless of the row and get a couple more Silverthorns into your back row to really fill that field. So this can be really good, some additive superior calling, which, I mean, it benefits. More units means more power, which means winning the game. So Selvia is definitely going to be really good. Next we have Masquerade Bunny, the grade 1. With the skills Continuous on V and R, if you called 1 or more cards from your soul this turn, this unit gets plus 5k power. And Auto on V and R, when placed from hand, look at 5 cards from the top of your deck, reveal up to 1 grade 3 from among them, and put it into your hand. Shuffle your deck, and if you put a card, discard a card from your hand. So here we see the continuation of the new grade 1 style that started with Next Stage, more or less. The grade 1 that searches your grade 3 and gets a 5k power boost based on the generic gimmick of the clan. In this case, it is calling cards from Soul. Again, with Pale Moon, that's kind of the name of the game, so you'll definitely see that very easily. And searching your grade 3, which is always beneficial, whether you don't have a grade 3 in hand or grabbing an extra one for a re-ride or something along those lines. These cards are just staples at this point. I think many people can agree with that. Pulling your cards, free power, these grade 1s are beneficial to a lot of decks, for sure. Then we have Moonlight Melody Tamer Betty. With the skills Auto on Van, when placed, draw a card, and put a card from your hand into your soul. And Auto on Rear, cost, rest this unit, look at 3 cards from the top of your deck, put a Magia doll in its card name from among them into your soul, and put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. So that first skill, I mean, that one's pretty good. Draw a card, hand to soul. You want cards in soul. The only thing is that this is on Vanguard, so if this isn't your grade 1 ride, then that's not really going to come in handy. However, that rearguard skill is really good. Searching top 3 for a Magia doll and getting them into soul, again, the name of the game for Hari. You want the Magia dolls in soul. This is a good way to get them in there. The rest of the cards are still in the deck, so they just have to be placed on the bottom. So depending upon the luck of the draw, then you can get a free Magia doll, which is beneficial in multiple ways. Speaking of Magia dolls, we have 2 more in the grade 1 section, starting with Magia doll Darkside Mirror Master. Has the same skill, Auto, when retired from guard, you may put this card into your soul, and Auto on Rear, when placed by your unit's ability with Hari in its card name, countercharge 1. Again, that free putting into soul with all the Magia dolls, that's really good. This one, when called though from Hari, this one countercharges. So this one is pretty good. I mean, any countercharge is going to be really beneficial, essentially for any clan. You're going to want a countercharge, unless you're playing Altmile and you want all those cards face down, but we're not playing Altmile. So a free countercharge, that's really beneficial, and you do want to see that. Then we have Magia doll Flying Periton. Again, Auto, when retired from guard, you may put this card into your soul, and Auto on Rear, when placed by your unit's ability with Hari in its card name, draw a card. Free soul, again, Magia doll shtick, it's really good. This one, when called, just draws a card, but who doesn't want to draw a card? Extra cards in hand, everyone kind of wants that. And that wraps up the Pale Moon cards, and now we get to go into Grand Blue. Grand Blue, starting off with the VR Vampire Princess of Nightfog, Night Rose. She has the skills Auto on V. When your rear guard attacks or boosts, that unit gets plus 5k power until the end of that battle, and retire that unit at the end of that battle. And Auto on V, when it attacks, cost Counterblast 1. Choose a column, call up to 2 cards from your drop zone to those circles in that column, and if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, this unit gets power plus 10k until the end of that battle. So with Night Rose, we get some extra power with the retiring, which kind of fits the style with Grand Blue. Unfortunately, you will be getting rid of a lot of your units that way, but that could be beneficial, especially with her second skill, which does pull cards from drop zone to rear, and also Night Rose getting that free 10k. That's going to be really good. So we keep seeing the Grand Blue shtick, which is pull from drop zone to rear, and putting cards from your field into the drop zone, which could be beneficial depending upon if you have the correct numbers in there or not. Next, we have Lord of the Seven Seas, Night Mist. He has the skill Auto on Van and Rear. When its attack hits, choose one of your Vanguard circle or Rearguard circles without any treasure markers and put a treasure marker. And Continuous on Van, you get all of the effects below according to the number of treasure markers you have. 1 or more, all of your rearguards with 7 Cs in their card name can attack and intercept from the back row. 3 or more, during your turn, all of your units with 7 Cs in their card names get plus 5k power. and 6 or more, this unit gets auto on Van. At the end of the battle it attacked, stand all of your rear guards with 7 Cs in their card name. So with Night Mist, we kind of see a different style of Grand Blue deck that you can make with this set, that being the 7 Cs variant. With 7 Cs, it is based on the treasure markers, as you can see. You get treasure markers on your circle, and based on the number that you have, Night Mist can provide some really good abilities based on how many there are. Now, you'll kind of see here in a second, Night Mist, more or less, is really the only one that can really benefit from the treasure markers. But as you'll see, all of the 7 Cs cards are able to create treasure markers. Treasure markers are also a specific card that come out in the set. They're kind of like tokens that really are clan specific, and you can really only see in this set. So there's something to look forward to if you're looking to play this variant. Next, we have the Forebode Ghost Ship. With the skill Act in the Drop Zone, cost, discard a card from your hand. Call this card to rear, and if your drop zone has 10 or more cards, this unit gets plus 10k power until the end of the turn. So with Forebode Ghost Ship, this is pretty good. You can see a free call, or a free superior call from drop zone, but unlike some of the other cards, like Skull Dragon or the grade 2 ship, the name is escaping me, then this one superior calls itself. It is not relied upon by the Vanguard's ability or anyone else's ability. This one just revives itself. Now, one thing to differentiate it from the grade 2 ship or Skull Dragon is that this doesn't retire itself afterwards. So it could be decent to keep it where it is, or utilize Night Rose to then retire it afterwards. Especially if it gets that plus 10k, and then possibly another plus 5k from Night Rose, then the Forebode Ghost Ship can be really good and really threatening. And to round off the grade 3s, we have Parliament Shade. Auto on V, when it attacks, cost, Soul Blast 3 grade 3s. Retire all of your and your opponent's rear guards. If your drop zone has 15 or more cards, call 5 cards from your drop zone to rear, and all of your units gets plus 10k power until the end of the turn. So Parliament Shade, it's got a very heavy cost, that's for sure. Soul Blasting 3 grade 3s can kind of be detrimental and definitely very late game. But I can see that that's definitely the point of Parliament Shade. Parliament Shade is meant to be a Hail Mary kind of card. Get rid of everything your opponent has, bring up a whole new field from drop zone, so long as you have 15 or more cards, and all of those units get plus 10k. It's definitely meant to be a finisher. It's meant to be a Hail Mary card in the very late game, but if you get to that point, then this can be pretty good. It removes any intercept potential that your opponent has, and again, a full brand new field from your drop zone that you get to choose yourself, and all of them get that plus 10k, that free power boost. In addition to, depending upon what you do call, again, Skull Dragons, which are kind of a staple of Grand Blue, can be very threatening in and of themselves, let alone with an extra 10k. Next, we have the Grade 2 Pirate Swordsman Columbard. Auto on Van and Rear, when placed, cost, Counterblast 1. Search your deck for up to 1 card, put it into your drop zone, shuffle your deck, and call up to 1 card from your drop zone to rear. This ability may only be used by a card with the same card name once per turn. So, Columbard is definitely a card that everyone's been talking about that play Grand Blue or are interested in Grand Blue or anything like that. Columbard can pull anything you want into the drop zone, which can be very beneficial depending upon what you want, what you need, and then a free call from rear at the same time. This is limited to a hard once per turn, but can be beneficial and can really help you out if you need it. Then we have Thin Mist Banshee. With the skills Auto on Rear, when placed by your card's ability, this unit gets plus 10k until the end of the turn. And Auto, when retired from rear by your card's ability, draw a card. This ability may only be used by a card with the same card name once per turn. So Thin Mist Banshee really just goes well with the rest of the shtick of Grand Blue, while plussing off of it. A call gets you free power, and then the retiring, you get to draw a card. It's nothing super special, but you can definitely get some decent plussing off of this if used correctly. More specifically with Night Rose, because Night Rose is really going to be the only one that can retire this for the most part. Next, we have the 7 Seas Pillager Night Spinel. Auto on Van and Rear. When its attack hits, choose one of your Vanguard circle or Rearguard circles without any treasure markers and put a treasure marker there. And Auto on V and R. When placed, cost Counterblast 1 and put 2 cards from the top of your deck into your drop zone. And call up to 1 card with 7 Cs in its card name, not named 7 Seas Pillager Night Spinel, from your drop zone to rear. So again, we see the 7 Cs, like I mentioned, giving you treasure markers. So we don't really see any plussing from the treasure markers in Night Spinel, but we get some treasure markers. So that's definitely going to help with the flow of the 7 Cs variant. As far as the second skill, that one is just self-explanatory and pretty good. It's a free superior call from drop, so long as it is a 7 Cs card. But if you're playing a 7 Cs variant deck, then for the most part, most of those card names are going to have 7 Cs. And to start off the grade ones, we have Tommy the Ghosty Brothers. Continuous on Van and Rear. During your turn, if your drop zone has 5 or more cards, this unit gets plus 5k power. And Auto on Van and Rear. When placed from hand, look at 5 cards from the top of your deck, reveal up to 1 grade 3 from among them, and put it into your hand. Shuffle your deck, and if you put a card, discard a card from your hand. So another one of the staple grade 1s that search your grade 3s from the top 5. This time, the generic plus 5k isn't so much conditional to the shtick as much as a continuous with the cards and drop. So it meshes a little bit more with the rest of Grand Blue and the constant conditioning of numbers in your drop zone, but it's still pretty good. Then we have 7 Seas Helmsman Nightcrow. Auto on Van and Rear. When its attack hits, choose one of your Vanguard circle or Rearguard circles without any treasure markers and put a treasure marker. And act in the drop zone if you have a Vanguard with 7 Cs in its card name, cost Soul Blast 1 and retire a Rearguard not named 7 Seas Helmsman Nightcrow and call this card to rear. Again, with the treasure markers, we see a free treasure marker creation, and then a superior call from drop zone on its own, so long as you have a Vanguard with 7 Cs, and obviously the Soul Blast and the retiring of another card not named, the same guy. So, again, that's pretty good. Like I mentioned earlier with the grade 3, whose name I have already forgot, Forebode Ghost Ship, that one. The ability to superior call itself from drop zone without the need of any other skills from a Vanguard or any other cards, that's definitely beneficial. You can go ahead and get this out without having to worry about anything else or any other conditions. So, that one's pretty good. Next, we have Witch Doctor of the 7 Seas, Rice Tutor. Auto on V and R. When its attack hits, choose one of your Vanguard circle or rearguard circles without any treasure markers and put a treasure marker. And continuous on rear, if there is a marker on this unit's circle, this unit gets intercept. So with Rice Tutor, we see another benefit from having the treasure markers, but unfortunately this is really the only other card aside from Night Mist. Rice Tutor being able to have intercept can still be really good, so long as this is in the front row. It doesn't specify that this card can intercept from the back row, but it could definitely come in handy if need be. Then we have Witch Doctor of Powdered Bone, Negrobone. Act in the drop zone, cost discard a card from your hand and put this card on the bottom of your deck. And call a grade 1 card from your drop zone to rear. And if your drop zone has 10 or more cards, you may call regardless of the grade. So this is another superior call from drop zone to rear, which, as I mentioned before, is definitely beneficial for Grand Blue. Again, it's kind of the shtick. Don't know how many times I'm going to say that for Grand Blue, but it's true. But a free superior call, regardless of grade, so long as you have the appropriate number, is really good. You can go ahead and pull anything that you need to from drop zone, regardless of the conditions based on whatever Vanguard you are playing, and the limit of units you can call from that skill. So Negrobone can be pretty good. Do have to throw Negrobone back into the deck though, so you may lose some cards in drop zone, but it can pay off. Next we have Cyril the Ghosty. Continuous on rear and guard. If your drop zone has 15 or more cards, this unit gets plus 10k power and plus 10k shield. So Cyril gets free power and free shield. Really good for guarding, really good for boosting. I'd say that this is pretty good. And lastly, we have the Skeleton Sea Navigator. Act on rear, cost, rest 2 rear guards, and put 5 cards from the top of your deck into your drop zone. So, Skeleton Sea Navigator. A lot of Japanese players, because this set is already out in Japan in case you didn't know, a lot of Japanese players are definitely playing this card in Grand Blue because it just pluses. You rest 2 and you immediately get 5 into the drop zone, which is a big number considering a lot of other cards aren't going to hit that high of a number. Even the Vanguard, which is still going to be late game, if you play a Vanguard like Kakaitis, for example, you're not going to hit that clean 5 still. So this is just one that you may not play a full 4 of, and you may not play consistently, but a lot of Japanese players are definitely teching it in because this just helps Grand Blue for obvious reasons. And so that wraps up Grand Blue, and now we get to talk about Murakumo with their VR Stealth Rogue of Revelation Yasuye. He has the skill Act on Vanguard. Once per turn, cost Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1. Choose 2 of your units. Search your deck or drop zone for up to 1 card with the same card name as each of those units. Call them to rear, and if you search your deck, shuffle your deck. And auto on Van, at the end of the battle it attacked, cost discard 2 cards from your hand, ride an Ambush Demon Stealth Rogue Yasuye Tenma from your drop zone as stand, and that unit gets drive -1 until the end of the turn. So with Yasuye, we see more of the Murakumo and their names kind of mechanic. Searching cards with the same names as 2 of your units and superior calling them from wherever, basically, is really good, especially with the synergy of the rest of the clan and the rest of the deck. As far as the second skill, it is a free superior ride for Yasuye Tenma, so long as it is in drop zone, but a drive -1, so that helps with multi-attacking for sure. But what is Yasuye Tenma? Well, let's talk about him. Ambush Demon Stealth Rogue Yasuye Tenma has the skills Act on V, once per turn, cost Counterblast 1. Choose one of your units, search your deck or drop zone for up to one card with the same card name as that unit, call it to rear, and if you search your deck, shuffle your deck. And auto on rear, when it attacks, this unit gets plus 10k power until the end of that battle. At the end of that battle, retire this unit. Choose one of your opponent's rear guards, and your opponent puts that unit on the bottom of their deck. So with Tenma, we see another superior call, so long as it has the same name as something you already have. And the second skill for a free plus 10 and essentially a free retire for one of your opponent's cards is pretty good. This can definitely be very aggressive, so long as it is on rear though. Plus, retiring Yasuye Tenma from rear gets it in drop zone set up for Yasuye's effect, the regular Yasuye's effect, to superior ride from drop. And the last grade 3 for Murakumo we have is Dueling Dragon Zantethu. Continuous on V, during your turn, all of your units with Arrestor in their card names get plus 5k. And Act on Van and Rear, once per turn if you have a Vanguard with Dueling Dragon in its card name, cost, put the top card of your deck into your damage zone. Search your deck for up to 2 cards with Arrestor in their card names, and call them to rear, and shuffle your deck. You don't perform any damage checks. So we see the Dueling Dragons getting more support. The Arrestors getting free power is definitely beneficial. That's one of the main points of the Dueling Dragon style of Murakumo, because you want a bunch of Arrestors on the field as much as possible. And being able to search for a couple Arrestors to fill your field is really good. All you have to do is damage yourself without a damage check though. So depending upon when this is used and how much damage you already have, this could be a decent trade-off. Mostly just kind of play this one by ear and see where you're at and if you can use that comfortably or not. And to start the grade 2s, we have Demon Claw Stealth Rogue Yoi Togi. Continuous on V, during your turn, all Demon Claw Stealth Rogue Yoi Togi on your van and rear circles get plus 3k power. And auto on V and R, when placed from hand, cost Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1. Search your deck or drop zone for up to 1 Demon Claw Stealth Rogue Yoi Togi. Call it to R, and if you search your deck, shuffle your deck. So Yoi Togi pulls a card of the same name from anywhere basically, and then gives it some free power along with itself. So this is pretty good and sticks with the standard Murakumo formula of having a bunch of cards with the same name. So this one's pretty solid. Next we have Stealth Dragon Plum Reimu. Auto on rear, when it attacks, cost Counterblast 1, and all of your front row units with the same card name as this unit get plus 5k power until end of turn. Again, some free power for anything with the same name. Pretty self-explanatory, pretty solid. Next is Unmasked Stealth Rogue Awazu. Auto on rear, when placed, search your deck for up to 1 card. Put it into your drop zone, shuffle your deck, and this unit gets that card's name until the end of the turn. So with Awazu, you can see how you can plus with cards of the same name. So with the past 2 that we talked about, they give power for anything with the same name, so Awazu can become that card. Again, sticking with the Murakumo formula, and some free power, based on whatever it is that you're naming it. So that can be pretty solid, depending upon what you choose. Next, we have Stealth Rogue of Intangibility, Kuninaga. Continuous on rear, if you have another unit with the same card name as this unit cannot be chosen by your opponent's card abilities, and gets plus 5k power. Again, with the card names, we have some free power, so long as you have another Kuninaga, but also has the immunities from any abilities. So this can be really solid, so long as you have another one, or use a card to gain that name. And to start off the grade 1s, we have Gateway Stealth Rogue Ataka. Continuous on V and R. During your turn, if there are 2 or more units with the same name as any of your units, this unit gets plus 5k power. And auto on Van and Rear. When placed from hand, look at 5 cards from the top of your deck, reveal up to 1 grade 3 from among them, and put it into your hand. Shuffle your deck, and if you put a card, discard a card from your hand. Another staple grade 1, search for your grade 3s. This time the 5k power is so long as you have 2 or more units with the same name, so again, sticking with the theme of Murakumo. Next we have Wisteria Flower Stealth Rogue Takehime. Auto on V, when placed, look at 7 cards from the top of your deck. Reveal up to 1 card with Yasuye in its card name from among them. Put it into your hand and shuffle your deck. Auto on Rear, once per turn when your Vanguard with Yasuye in its card name is placed, cost Counterblast 1, choose one of your units, and call up to 1 card with the same name as the chosen unit from your drop zone to rear. So Takehime is more like a vamped version of the grade 3 searcher grade 1. This one looks at top 7 instead of just 5, but specifically is looking for a Yasuye. So you can't really use it to search any other grade 3s if you use it in, say, a Dueling Dragon version of the deck. But if you use it in Yasuye, then that's a really good card. And also, the second ability does allow you to Superior Call from drop another card of the same name, which can definitely come in handy. As mentioned before, more cards with the same name plus off of each other, which means that this can be really solid depending upon what it's used for. Next we have Flutist Stealth Rogue Kadotsugu. With the skill Auto on Rear, at the end of the battle that it boosted a grade 2 or greater rear guard, cost Counterblast 1 and discard a card from your hand. Search your deck for up to 1 card with the same card name as the unit that this unit boosted, call it to a rearguard circle without a unit, and shuffle your deck. Another free Superior Calling with the same name. The only thing is you have to make sure that it is on a rear without a unit, but seeing as this is an Axel clan, that could be doable. There are plenty of rearguard circles with an Axel clan, so finding one with an open circle probably isn't going to be too difficult. So this is going to be really solid. Next we have Backward Arrestor. Auto on Rear, when it boosts right arrestor or left arrestor, if you have a Vanguard with Dueling Dragon in its card name, Soul Charge 1, and the boosted unit gets plus 10k power until the end of that battle. So here we see more synergy with the arrestors, a free Soul Charge, which is really good. Obviously, just getting more resources is always beneficial, and some free 10k power, so long as it is boosting another arrestor, which again with the Dueling Dragon style, you kind of want most if not all of your units to be arrestors, so that's probably not too difficult. Next we have Stealth Rogue of Carnival Song Miyaguki. Act on Rear, once per turn, cost, rest this unit, draw a card, and discard a card from your hand. If Stealth Rogue of Carnival Song Miyaguki was discarded, stand this unit. So this is a free plussing, you get a free card draw, and this can restand so long as it is the same card. This can be pretty beneficial, but doesn't plus too much off of itself. So there's no power gain, there's no resource gain or anything. It is really just drawing a card, but that could come in handy. Drawing a card is never awful, so depends on how you use it. And that wraps up the Murakumo cards, and finally we get to talk about the Dark Irregulars, starting with the VR of Dark Irregulars, Charot Vampire. He has the skills Auto on V. At the beginning of your battle phase, all of your front row units get plus 1k power until the end of the turn for each card in your soul. And Auto on V, when it attacks, cost Counterblast 1 and stand one of your front row rearguards. If your soul has 13 or more cards, stand 2 rearguards instead of 1. This is just a very solid card. Charot Vampire giving all of your front row, including himself, a 1k for each in soul, which you kind of want a lot of soul, so that's always going to be a decent number on all of your front row. Also, the restanding is going to be very threatening, especially considering that power from the initial skill is going to carry over. It is until the end of the turn. You just have to make sure you have 13, but with Dark Irregulars, that's nothing too difficult, really. Next, we have Abominable One, Giderai, or Gilderay. However, if you want to be, super fancy and accurate, or just American. He has the skills Auto on V and R. When placed, cost Counterblast 1 and call a grade 2 or less from your soul to rear. And Auto on Van and Rear. When it attacks a Vanguard, if your soul has 10 or more cards, choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire it. So this can be really beneficial and really good. Being able to superior call a grade 2 or less, depending upon what you have and what you need, this can definitely still be really good. It's a free call, free units. I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. And then just the free retire, so long as you have 10 or more cards. Again, as I said before, with Dark Irregulars, that's not exactly difficult. A free retire is really solid. I mean, any retire is going to be really good. Next, we have Ostia Heater. Act in the Soul. Cost Counterblast 1 and discard a card from your hand. Return this card to your hand and put 2 cards from your drop zone into the soul. So, Ostia Heater can be used pretty well, so long as you use it in the right scenarios. Being able to essentially Soul Blast 1 for a Soul Charge 2, but you get to pick which one on both instances, is definitely very beneficial. You definitely want to pick something, especially if you have another card such as Variant's Killer Tail, just for example, where it matters what you have and don't have in Soul, or if you do use Giderai and have a grade 2 or lower that you do want to call through Giderai. So, depending upon how it's used, this can be pretty good. Next, we have Flap Fixer, continuous on guard. If you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard, this unit gets plus 10k shield. And Auto on V and R, when placed from hand, search your deck for up to 1 grade 3 card, put it into your soul, and shuffle your deck. Being able to use a grade 3 as another shield, another defender, is something that I'm always a fan of. Being able to have more cards in your hand that you can use to guard with is something that really is never a bad thing. Being able to have more guard potential in your hand is pretty solid. Is always pretty solid in my opinion. And then the grade 3 searching and putting into the soul is another very beneficial skill, so long as you are playing something other than Charot Vampire. I'm sorry, Charot, but you don't have a skill that benefits from it. If you do have something like Death Anchor, or if you're using Brufus, then having another grade 3 in Soul can definitely be very beneficial, so I can definitely see how this could be used very well. Next we have Inflict Stamper. Continuous on rear, if you have 3 or more Inflict Stampers in your Soul, this unit cannot be retired by card effects and gets crit +1. So this is another instance of wanting grade 3s in Soul and the specific cards you want in Soul. So immunity from ability retire and an extra crit can be very good and very threatening, but does have the caveat that you have to have 3 others of this card in your Soul. And finally, for the grade 3s, we have Gravity Core Master. Auto on V, when it attacks, this card gets plus 2k power until end of turn for each card in your Soul. If it got 30k or more, choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire it. So Gravity Core Master can be pretty good. A free 2k for each card in Soul definitely can get some really good power, very threatening power, and a free retire so long as you hit that certain threshold, which means that you have to have at least 15 cards in Soul, which, again, with Dark Irregulars, won't be too difficult. So it can be used very well, but it is dependent, especially considering this is an auto on V skill. It does have to be your Vanguard. And there are some better options, but this could definitely be used for a Hail Mary, or sort of a finisher card, if you will. And to start off the grade 2s, Demented Executioner. Auto on V, when it attacks a grade 2 or greater, this unit gets plus 5k power until the end of that battle. An auto on Van and Rear, when placed, cost Counterblast 1, Soul Charge 3, and if you Soul Charged 1 or more trigger units, draw a card. So Executioner getting a free power, I mean, that's always really good. That's always a great skill. But then Soul Charging 3, that's where Executioner really shines. A free Soul Charge 3, which is a really good skill, a really good number that we don't see too many other times for Dark Irregular, at least in Standard, then that's going to be really good. Especially if you hit 1 or more trigger units, it's a free draw, which I'm never going to say no to a draw. Then we have Doppel Vampire. Auto on Van and Rear, when it attacks, Soul Charge 1, and your opponent cannot intercept until the end of that battle. An Act in the Soul, cost Counterblast 1, and return this card to your hand. Another free Soul Charge, plus the added benefit of the opponent can't intercept. That's going to be some decent pressure. It may not make or break an attack, especially considering it is specifically with Doppel Vampire that they cannot intercept, but preventing interceptions can still be pretty good. It can still be really decent against a lot of other decks. And then the returning back to hand from Soul gives you the potential to recycle this for whatever you may need. And finally, for the grade 2s, we have Prognos Dre, or Dry. Again, whether you want to be fancy or American. Auto on V and R, when it attacks, if your Soul has 5 or more cards, look at the top card of your deck. You may put that card into your Soul. So this is just a free Soul Charge. I think that's decently self-explanatory. The low cost of 5 or more in Soul really is easy to obtain. So a free Soul Charge is pretty good, especially considering you have the option to put it in. It says you may put that card in your Soul. So if you say attack with Prognos Dre first, you can see whether or not you're going to hit a trigger. You can put that into Soul or leave it there if you want that trigger for your Vanguard's attack. So this could be used pretty well, depending upon your luck of the draw, for sure. And to start off the grade 1s, we have Succubus of Pure Love. Continuous on V and R. During your turn, if one or more of your cards were put into your soul by a card's ability this turn, this unit gets plus 5k power. And auto on V and R, when placed from hand, look at 5 cards from the top of your deck. Reveal up to 1 grade 3 from among them and put it into your hand. Shuffle your deck, and if you put a card, discard a card from your hand. The standard grade 3 Searcher with the 5k power. This one this time is specifying if a card was put into Soul by an ability. So any Soul charge gets a plus 5k. With Dark Irregulars, that's very easy. So Succubus of Pure Love is really good. Next we have Edge in the Darkness. Auto on V. When placed, draw a card and put a card from your hand into your Soul. And auto on Rear, when placed, Soul Charge 1, and if it was placed by your card's ability, Counter Charge 1. So if it's used as a Vanguard, it's a free draw, and then hand to Soul. A free Soul Charge, which is really good. But if it's used on Rear, then you have a Soul Charge 1 from the top of the deck, and if it was used on Rear, placed on Rear by an ability, you can also Counter Charge. Mentioned earlier, Counter Charge is always going to be good. That's always a plus that you want to see. And lastly, we have Stone Framer. Auto, when put into your Soul from Rear, during your turn, one of your Vanguards gets plus 10k power until the end of the turn. So this is really good, especially considering Sharot Vampire skills. It's going to get sucked into Soul pretty easily, and just some free extra power on top of a powerhouse that you already have for your Vanguard. Again, that's going to be very threatening. That's going to be very good. And that wraps up Butterfly de Moonlight, a beautiful set that has so many wonderful cards that I'm excited to see. Pale Moon adding their own twist with the Hari style and the Magia dolls, and the consistency that they have of constantly putting themselves into Soul, as well as Venus Lucier just adding more support for Silverthorn, which is always great. We have Grand Blue, which just continues its wonderful style with Night Rose and all of the drop zone specific tech that they have, just bouncing off of each other and benefiting each other, as well as the Seven Seas variant, which is definitely new and interesting, and I'm excited to see any ways that can be played. Then we have Murakumo with more cards that go off of each other's name and really plussing, especially with Yasuye and Yasuye Tenma being able to essentially multi-attack from a superior ride. And then we have Dark Irregulars, which continues its Soul shenanigans and benefiting from it in some wonderful ways. I'm really excited for all of these cards that I'm seeing in the set, and I definitely know what I'm building, and it is definitely almost every single deck from this set. So let me know down below what you are interested in playing and what you are interested in looking out for. I'm definitely excited to see everything that comes from this, so please let me know. And until next time, thank you all for listening. This has been another great episode, and I will see you all next turn.